Hi, this is Dave, Fell Running Guide. Welcome to this week's navigation task. This week we have a trig point. I want you to identify it on the map and also work out what direction we are looking and what features can we see on the map. What features can you see that help you decide which trig point it is? So we're working with the Ordnance Survey 1 to 50,000 map. And I've got 3 trig points on there that it could possibly be. Now here, A, B and C. So which one of those is on the photograph? Well, let's have a look at the photograph and see what details there are. First thing we notice, there's a fence right in front of us. We'll come back to that. Then the trig point, flat ground, and just a short distance ahead of the trig point, looks like we've got a horizon here. The ground drops away out of sight. We can see a bit further into the distance here, kind of flat ground. It looks like it's dropping to the left. In the middle distance, we've got this hill here, sort of gradual on that side and drops a bit more steeply there, and that's pretty much in line with the reservoirs just to the left as we look. To the right of the photograph, we've got this feature here, comes along and then drops down fairly steeply. Beyond that, a flat area that drops gradually to the left, down, obscured by the trig point, but is dropping down to the reservoirs. And then the reservoirs, looks like there's one body of water, something in the middle, another body of water, and to the left we've got big high ground, so reasonably steep slope and flat ground there. Okay, so we'll see if we can find any of that on the map. So back to this fence. So on 1 to 50,000 Ordnance Survey maps, physical boundaries, fences, walls aren't shown. So they are on the 1 to 25,000, they're a black line, but they're not shown on the 1 to 50,000. So that's not going to help us. This big black dash dot line that goes all the way through B, that is neither a fence or a wall or a path. It's a political boundary. It's a metropolitan and district boundary. So all that means is that on the land on one side is one metropolitan borough and a different one on the other side. It doesn't mean that there's anything to see on the map. There may well be a boundary line such as a wall or a fence, but not necessarily. There could just be boundary markers along there, and also there could be a wall or a fence going through A, there could be a fence going through C, just not marked on the map. So we have to rely on the physical features of the landscape, the ones that are going to be permanently there. So could we be at A to start with? Well, we're on high ground. Looks like the ground drops away fairly soon ahead of us. The ground drops, but then it rises up the other side. So I think if we were at A, we'd be able to see the ground drop and then rise up to this Withen's edge. We'd be looking across this Grains moss. And yeah, we could possibly be looking over to the reservoirs. Whereabout we start to see them, what would be hidden, how much of them would be hidden in dead ground, difficult to say from A. And then is there that little high ground to the left of the reservoirs? Well, I don't know if from A we'd be able to look over and then pick up this white maize moor there. It doesn't quite fit. What about B? Could we be looking from B? Ground drops away quite soon, quite steeply, and then drops away again to this point here, and then we've got a slight rise to this Pike Naze moor summit there. That could be our little hill that we were looking at, and then out onto the reservoirs, so that fits. If we're at C, I think we'd pretty much be able to see this road heading away from us to the west. there, and we haven't got a little area of high ground, a little hill to the left of the reservoirs as we look. Are we wrong in assuming we're looking at this reservoir? Could we be looking over to windscar reservoirs? Well, again, we need to be looking along a line of a reservoir with steep hills on either side. That doesn't fit from A, really, and neither does it fit from B, and there isn't that small hill just before the reservoirs from B. If we're from C, we'd be looking over onto this road here. Again, that doesn't fit. So we're looking probably at B. But what about identifying some of those features? Let's go back to that photograph. So we want to try and identify this hill, this edge, this, and then we've got some trees here. And can we identify the bit of land that sticks out across the reservoir? Well, let's have a look side by side. Okay, so looking down, so this little hill here is looking down to that there. Then if we go out beyond it, just to the right of the reservoir, we can see some trees there. Those are there. And then just this little block of trees here, just obscured by the trig, are these there. So we can't see very much of this reservoir, and then there's a bit of land that goes across there. So that there with the road across it is that going across there. Just zoom in again, that going across there, look, is that. So a lot of this Woodhead reservoir is obscured from view by this high ground here. Again, refer to dead ground, it's hidden in dead ground. And that reservoir is another reservoir that isn't on the map. What about the other areas that I showed you to the right? This flat area, steep ground, and then flat area and dropping off. Well, the flat area and steep ground is this Dew Hill Naze here. Let's move the map for you. So from B, looking over Dew Hill Naze, steep ground, that there is that there, and then beyond it, high ground, higher and beyond is East End Moss. Okay, so what about the other reservoir? Well, I can show you more of the map. So we were looking from there, and we were actually looking at the reservoir in the distance was Torside Reservoir that wasn't shown on the map. So maybe a little bit sneaky, but I think there's enough there for you to be able to work out certainly where we were and that we were looking over in this direction. So the answer was, the photograph was taken from that trig there, looking over. It's there. So well done if you got it right. I know some people did on the social media comments today, some people didn't, but if you didn't, I hope you know where you went wrong, and you can yeah, it all makes sense to you now. Anyway, thanks for watching. Look out for next week's navigation task. Bye for now.